Yeah, sup fam? Welcome back everybody. Welcome to have you. Welcome, glad to have you. Welcome around. I don't know. It's good. We are recording episode number 53 today of the Faith and Whatever podcast. Gentlemen, we've officially been recording for 13 months. We are in lucky number 13.
Wow.
So, I don't know what that means, but it certainly means something.
We've carried this into the fifth trimester.
Yeah. And wow. We're still waiting to birth
That's more than most network TV shows get. I mean, I just think that means that we're here for you. We're consistent.
So, I want to start like this. What do you remember that's special to you about your best friend? Crystal, we'll start with you. Who's the first best friend you remember making as a kid?
I don't know.
You don't remember? Okay,
I would have needed a little more lead time on this one.
Yeah, who's the best friend?
We could have said something and we wouldn't have known. You could have said,
make it up.
Brian.
Josh would have been like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
You know how much I moved as a kid?
So
I didn't have a best friend. My best friend was imaginary. Okay, you happy?
Yeah. Okay. So who is that? Who is your imaginary?
Not talking
friend?
about it.
I had one. I had an imaginary friend.
He beat me.
His name was like Dad or something. I don't know.
This does not help our topic.
So I mean, it does. Who was your best friend growing up, Garrett?
My best friend was Max. But I think our friendship, I've known since 4th grade. He was my best man at my wedding. But he wasn't like...
That guy's not as cool as I am.
Well, I mean, you weren't in my wedding. You were at my wedding, but you're also
yeah, that's your fault.
You're like 14 and you're annoying. Anyways.
Yeah, he was.
Well, just at parties. He's an attention whore. So he was over the years, right? So friends...
Not wrong.
I met him when I was in 4th grade. And so over the years, he probably became my best friend around junior high or so for 2 or 3 years later. And what I remember about him, he was down for whatever. I remember a story. Okay, so I was talking to him this was in junior high.
This is F&W confessionals.
Wow. Okay.
You're just down for the get down.
It was like middle of the week. It was like junior high. It was like I said, "Hey, do you want to go to Palm Springs to visit my grandma this weekend?" He goes, "Yeah, I'll ask my mom." And then Friday rolls around and he forgets to ask his mom. And I'm like, "We're going." He's like, "Oh man, I really want to go." Call your mom. So he can't get a hold of his mom. And he's like, "Dude, I'll just go." I'm like, "You can't get a hold of your mom?" He's like, "She'll be fine." He literally called. He finally gets a hold of his mom, and it's like Friday night. He's like, "I'm in Palm Springs." He's like in 7th grade. Oh, it was awesome.
Hey, would it rob a bank?
It was awesome.
All right, James, who's your best friend growing up?
My best friend I met just before 6th grade, somewhere just before 6th grade. His name was Larry. Great guy. He was...
He's
sure.
dead now.
Yes. No, he's not dead yet now.
He's not a great guy anymore.
He was not sure the exact way he would want to put it, but he was some form of Buddhist. And he was probably the first significant person in my life that I met that was not somehow Judeo-Christian, either by culture or by faith itself. And that was a very important experience for me to actually meet somebody who is very different than my sort of Christian bubble.
Yeah.
And also was probably more like Jesus than anybody else I knew in my Christian bubble.
Unbeknownst to him, though, as a Buddhist.
Yeah, and I learned a lot from him. He used to get up every morning and do his ritualistic prayers and things like that.
In 4th grade?
Just before 6th grade.
Oh.
Yeah, and so, we'd do, sleepovers and stuff, and, but he would get up early and he would do all of his prayers, and the sacrifices for the day and stuff like that, and it was pretty cool.
That's cool.
So, are you guys still friends? You guys still talk or no?
On Facebook, like everybody. But
yeah.
How about you? I don't know. I knew you as a young.
My first best friend when we moved to America, his name was Kyle.
Don't go too early.
Kyle Uehara.
Okay.
There, and we're still friends to this day. I just saw him last year. He moved and speed skated all the time. He's a really excellent speed skater. Missed qualifying for the Olympics for speed skating by 3/100ths of a second. There and New Apollo Ono, great guy. Now he just he does a lot of like Joshua Tree living. He's a big camper and kind of makes me jealous.
Jealous?
Yeah, like jealous and envious.
Okay.
So today we're talking about this type of we have this series that we're going to be launching into pretty soon. I guess today. There's 4 types of love that we see throughout the New Testament, and the first one that we're talking about today is called Philia, and Philia is, I guess, basically better known as
Does it come from Philadelphia?
Born and raised. Yeah, that was good.
That was good.
Yeah, all right, very nice. So it's basically philia is like a love that's between friends who are as close as siblings, usually in strength and duration of that friendship.
And to be clear here, I mean, the real point here is it's not a type of love. This is the fact that we call it love is more of a problem with the English language. And to lead into this a bit better is that in English, we refer to a lot of different emotions as love, or a lot of different connections to people or things as love. You know, you can love your car, you can love your wife, you can love your children, you can love your best friend. But
love, faith, and whatever.
right, but in
No, so wait. So stop what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And like this video.
Okay.
And leave a comment about who you love the most on this podcast.
You could go on somewhere on Facebook and do a heart symbol and something we've put out.
Yeah.
It's a love.
Yeah.
Show the love.
So, in the New Testament's written in Greek. Greek had 4 distinct words that were not related to each other that we use the word love to refer to these things, but their language is more nuanced, and that nuance makes its way into the biblical text, I believe.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about one of them today, which is philia, sometimes philos, sometimes phileo, so all referring to the same kind of love, which is the bond between friends and companions.
Yeah, and this is a lot of kind of our inspiration comes from this patron evangelical saint known as C.S. Lewis, who has this book called The Four Loves, and he describes friendship as the least biological, organic, instinctive, gregarious, and necessary, the least natural of loves. And he says our species does not need friendship necessarily in order to reproduce. But to the classical and medieval world, it is a higher level love because it's freely chosen.
Right.
And so we see this a lot. Some good New Testament. Well, I guess we don't have to stick to the New Testament, but some good examples of this we see in David and Jonathan. See, I would even argue we see in the 12 disciples, in Jesus' relationship with somebody like Peter and James and John. I think those are 3 important examples of what that kind of love looks like. And so we wanted to. Well, what do you think the best way to start with this?
Well,
is?
I think the point we're going to be making repeatedly in this series is each of these loves, each of these 4 concepts, are good things. I would say that they can be good, but like all good things, they can be abused. Right? There is a good way to have philia. There's a bad way to have philia love, and what's important about kind of digging into this and digging into the nuance of these things is to sort of bring us to a more conscious discussion, a more conscious way of thinking about how are we treating these things in our lives. So, like with philos, there's a good kind of a philos, and there's one that's sort of abusive of what God would have us do with our philos relationships. Philos relationship is good, it's godly, it's almost divine when it's 2 people who are sharing a friendship that sharpens each other, that challenges each other to be better, and that drives each other to be better Christians, better people, better professionals maybe, and that you are a better person for having this kind of a relationship. That's the kind of philos that I think God would want us to have. But we've all had those sorts of friends that lead us down like the wrong
rabbit trail.
We have friends that bring out the worst in us. We have friends that I don't want to use the word temptation loosely, but the idea is like sort of encourage us into the wrong things, or that we just find ourselves being the worst version of ourselves when we're with those people. And this is now becoming like an abusive philos relationship, one that both abuses you, maybe abuses the other person, but abuses what God would have us be and do. And so it's very important to sort of think about the sort of philos relationships we have with people around us, and which ones are honoring God and His creation, and which ones are dishonoring God and His creation.
Yeah, so let's get practical and helpful then. So, let's each think of a way, or what's a way that you have noticed contributes positively to a good understanding of this philia relationship. So, what is like one thing that either you've done in your relationship to contribute positively with your friends in this philia understanding, or what's one thing that somebody has done for you that you would say is helpful in, kind of a God-honoring philia relationship? Let's start with you, Garrett.
Well, I think an obvious one, or maybe kind of a foundational one, is just the person that will be honest with you. And, a lot of times that we think we are traveling down the right path, we're making the right choices, and it could be based on opinion, but a good example of this friendship is it's the person who knows you well enough and is not afraid to lose the relationship if they're honest with you.
Okay,
right.
Good.
Like if they might say, I don't think that's a good decision. I think your clothes look ridiculous, or whatever it is. And then the relationship is strong enough that you trust them and their opinion about your life and your choices.
So I don't know if that's a bad thing, because there's only like 2 or 3 people in my life that I trust with the fashion sense to speak any type of fashion wisdom into my existence.
Yeah.
There.
This
So-
is really important information.
So how does somebody like me navigate? No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Maybe open up to other fashion choices.
No, gosh,
I mean,
no.
one day we were all wearing gray, and then another day we were all wearing blue. So I think
Nope. Can't do it. All right, we're just going straight along. James, what is one thing that you've found to be helpful?
Yeah, and I'm going to start with the negative to lead into the positive. The negative here, a negative version of philos, a damaging, destructive version, would be one that leads to clickiness, to cliques, one that leads to exclusive friendship communities that purposely exclude people that may be in need of community.
You can't sit with us.
Right, you can't sit with us. You are not XYZ to be part of our exclusive
You're not cool enough
party.
to be part of Faith and Whatever.
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many people I've had to tell that.
inside jokes you tell around other groups of people. Sorry, you don't know it.
Yeah, so you're not cool enough for this, and
Right.
that's a destructive version of philos. And that
Yeah, welcome to youth ministry. That's
the positive one is that philos this community's built on that sort of relationship, a philos relationship. That's an opportunity to practice inclusiveness, to bring people into better communities, to bring people into greater social health, to be a place where we're not only positive with each other, but we welcome others to enter into that positivity. That's what the church essentially is, in a sense, right? I mean, the church can reflect a lot of different kind of loves, but it can be the ultimate philos relationship where we band of friends built on a Christ-like friendship can now include those who need to also have the experience, that brotherly, sisterly, Christ-like experience in a social sphere.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and so I like these ideas. And for me, my big thing is I think a synthesis of the two things that you guys are talking about. One of the things that I have found to be most helpful is actually learning from the example of people whom I know are better people than myself. So I try and attach myself closely to people who I think are who I can learn from in some very specific type of way, shape, or form. Somebody that there's a saying that I heard, right? So always look for the smartest person in the room, right? Or most compassionate or most kind, whatever. Substitute any good quality in there for that person in the room. And if you look around and notice, that's you're in the wrong room, right? You need to find a new room or a bigger room, whatever that looks like. And so the people that I have seen the most that I want to be like, or the people that have poured into me the most, are people who are often the most self-sacrificing with their time, with their talents, with their whatever tool they might have. That has been super helpful to me in terms of setting an example of what I think good philia looks
You know
like.
what's nice about connecting yourself to somebody who self-sacrifices a lot?
It benefits you.
You get a lot of stuff out of it.
Yeah, and that's super true. I've not thought of it that way because I'm not selfish. I'm just kidding. I'm probably
Maybe
pretty
it's
selfish.
subconscious.
Yeah, maybe it is. But
These friends are great. They just
keep giving me stuff. Actually, Luke is like that. Luke is very much like buys food for everybody. So it's like, Luke, where are we going to eat tonight? And it's like, let's go to Buffalo Wild Wings. All right, you're paying. Yeah, of course. All right, cool. This is rad. Just kidding. Love you, Luke. But seriously, thanks for buying all of our food for like 10 years. So I have found that to be super helpful because what it does is eventually, after a couple of years of benefiting from the self-sacrificing of them, it encourages me to also be self-sacrificing in my own journey. So the pitfall, you kind of already talked about it, kind of the clickiness. How do you think then we can, especially as people in ministry or just people in a professional setting, what can we do as believers to be more facilitating? How do we avoid clickiness, James?
How do we avoid clickiness? I mean, ultimately, it's churches. If it's not, if one does not pay attention to this, it is very easy for churches to become cliquey. I mean, you can have all the positive rhetoric in the world about how we're a great community, how we do include people, but the thing is, if you've been seeing the same people in your church for the last 10 years with very little change, you've probably become a clique.
Yeah.
Even if by accident. And the only way to break that mold is to purposely do activities and events that are meant for people who are not don't do an event that serves your people's needs. Do an event that serves some other people's needs and get those people involved to be served.
right.
That's the danger of this philos relationship in churches, is that sometimes it becomes social clubs.
Sure. Yeah.
Where we keep doing things, both events, activities, services, whatever, that really fit our mold, and that's why we're the only ones here. Whereas Try to find something that's beyond your mold, an activity, a service that's going to serve nobody in your community, and by community I mean in your church building, but serve people outside of your church building solely, and have the people in the church serve that way to others.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of churches struggle with that, and even our own church would admit to struggling with that. We've got some Bible studies. They call them Bible studies. I think small groups is a better term. That have been meeting for 25 years. And it's like, in some sense, what a great thing to say that our church has small groups families that have met together for 25 years. But if you think about it on this self-sacrificial element, would you be willing to break that group up to let others come in?
I think about that. I think about that exact thing all the time when we talk about this stuff in staff meeting, right? Our church is trying to do this big campaign push to get people to be a part of small groups. And the last time we did this, we had like 90-something%, attendance. It was awesome. Like, people super bought into this idea. But I was looking around and looking at some of the groups and like, oh, this is such and such group. They've been meeting for, X amount of years. And I kind of go, oh, that doesn't really seem like it's as good of a thing anymore, right? It's like, but nobody's willing to implode it because it all kind of fits around their lives. And so, they start new groups, and fair enough, people get plugged in. But I'm with you on that one. It feels a little bit.
I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do. I'm not saying it should always be done, but
I think it should be always.
What are you prioritizing? Meeting and fulfilling this friendship need, but are you willing to sacrifice that need that you're getting for the sake of someone else who doesn't have that?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So, all right, we got any final thoughts? Anything?
I think that's it. I think we covered it well.
All right. Well, we will be back after these short messages. So thanks for stopping by, and we will talk to you very shortly.